She was incredibly fast. Trials off Jamestown assured Gibbs that his dream ship would take the blue ribbon with ease.
On February 19, 2025, the iconic SS United States was relocated from Pier 82 to Pier 80, the first time the ship had moved in nearly 30 years, and the first step in a historic journey from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Mobile, Alabama. Once it reaches this destination, the deteriorating liner will be prepared for scuttling. This controversial decision follows decades of unsuccessful efforts to preserve the ship and aims to sink it as an artificial reef off the coast of destined Fort Walton Beach, Florida. The SS United States was built by Newport News Shipbuilding, with its hull laid down in February 1950, and the ship launched on June 23, 1951. The chief designer, renowned naval architect William Gibbs, was responsible for many notable projects. Among his many accomplishments, Gibbs led the conversion and reconstruction of the USS Leviathan back into a passenger liner after World War I. His company, Gibbs & Cox, also designed the famous Fletcher-class destroyers and Liberty ships, which played a crucial role in the Allied victory during World War II.
Passenger liners such as the Aquitania, Queen Mary, and Queen Elizabeth played a critical role as troop transports during World War II. As a result, in 1945, the United States Maritime Commission requested designs for an ocean liner that could easily serve as a troop transport in future conflicts.
William Gibbs' design won the contract, resulting in the SS United States being built with an unprecedented level of cooperation between the United States Navy and his company.
As a result, the civilian liner was built to meet United States naval standards, incorporating numerous military-grade features. These included watertight subdivisions designed to the highest standards to prevent flooding, an aluminum superstructure to reduce weight compared with similarly sized liners, boilers similar to those used on U.S. naval vessels, and dual turbine engine rooms to ensure the ship could remain operational even if one was knocked out of commission.
These features enabled the ship's power plant to propel it to speeds exceeding 30 knots. While many claims have been made about the legendary speed of the SS United States, such as it being capable of 40-plus knots, the engine design did allow it to reach unprecedented speeds. Its highest documented rate was attained during a speed trial on June 10, 1952, when it attained 38.32 knots. The interiors of the United States were notably designed by women rather than men. They were intended to look modern and much more simplistic than famous liners of the past. The mid-century modern decor was initially met with mixed reactions, but eventually won over travelers, becoming the favor of many, some of whom would travel on her again and again. William Gibbs also insisted that the interiors be made of fireproof materials to combat fires such as what happened on the SS Morro Castle. The artwork throughout the vessel reflected the pride of the United States, with many patriotic pieces and themes capturing American landscapes, scenery, and symbolism. When the United States departed on its maiden voyage from New York to England on July 3, 1952, its passenger accommodations were divided between first class, cabin class, and tourist class. All three classes were well appointed and comfortable when compared to our contemporaries. The United States was an instant success, smashing both the eastbound and westbound crossing records of the RMS Queen Mary and capturing the Blue Ribbon, a title which it still retains for the United States line. The United States was greeted by celebrations and a ticker tape parade upon its return voyage to New York. Despite its many successes over the years of service, the the United States became a victim of changing times. The increasing preference of travelers in crossing the Atlantic via much faster passenger jets led to a gradual decline and eventually being removed from service in 1969. What followed were decades of efforts to preserve the aging liner, which ultimately proved unsuccessful. The United States was faced with scrapping many times over the years, and occasionally, preservation plans and efforts appeared imminent, only to fail for a variety of reasons, mostly involving the massive expenses that would have been involved in restoring the vessel to actual service, or to preserve it as a museum ship such as the RMS Queen Mary. By the time the United States began its journey to Alabama, which will ultimately lead to its sinking, it had been sitting in port deteriorating for decades and was in very rough condition. Its beautiful interiors, long since stripped out, barely a shell of its former self. Still, despite this, its beautiful lines, a sharp contrast to the lack of artistry of modern cruise and passenger ships, remain proud and iconic. The sad reality is that museum ships are very expensive to maintain, and often do not generate enough revenue to cover even routine maintenance costs and needs. Despite fundraising efforts, a worthy cause, and appeals to governments, many, too many in fact, historic ships have been lost over the years. The sad reality is that sentiment and historic value often pales compared to cold hard cash. Until the very last, there had been hope that someone with deep pockets would come along and see her value as an entity, a living being, rather than scrapping her or letting her continue to rot away to nothing. In the end, she would find one last call of duty. She is to be deployed as an artificial reef in the Gulf, with a permanent shore-based museum.
Although this is not the fate that maritime enthusiasts from around the world would have chosen, it is what Franklin Delano Roosevelt had implied would have been a superior fate to that which faced Cunard's first Mauretania. He wrote, "But why couldn't the British have remembered the Mauretania's faithfulness, taken her out to sea and sunk her whole, giving her a Viking's funeral, this ship with a fighting heart? It would be more inspiring to those who come hereafter to know that a ship that was a ship received decent treatment at her death."
Of the great transatlantic liners, United States was one of the last to go. Her competitor, SS France, later renamed SS Norway, had been scrapped in 2008. Her other competitor, Cunard's Queen Elizabeth II, had left service in 2008 and now awaits a similarly uncertain fate in Dubai.
Her forerunner and fleetmate America, later renamed American Star, had suffered catastrophe in 1994 after running aground at Playa de Garcia in the Canary Islands, where she subsequently broke apart in the surf.
At the very least, the SS United States, still the world's fastest ocean liner, still holder of the blue ribbon, and likely to be the last ocean liner to do so, is getting the Viking's funeral denied so many other historic ships.
While emotions run high about the deliberate destruction of yet another historic ocean liner, and many debate the pros and cons of what is actually happening, at least the ship will continue to exist in physical form for people to visit and see her rather than end up as a pile of scrap. As SS United States heads off to her final destination, we at the Steam and Splendor Network join maritime enthusiasts from around the world in saying, "Fair winds and following seas, old friend." A special thank you to our supporters on Patreon: Nikki Chan 92, Evan Fleming, Lucas Sidlowski, Bluebird Nut, Mark Gegenheimer, Martin Cahill, Maximilian Metcalf, Rachel Warner Sanchez, and Snow Monkey.